Joe, the train guy. Joe, top of his class. Joe, the home run hitter. Joe, the inflation killer, the deficit killer. Senile, racist, or pathological? Pathological, racist, or senile? It's hard to tell these days, but so much of what he says and does these days falls into one of those three categories, or sometimes a combination thereof. It's not a new thing. Joe Biden's lies, the pathological part, is decades old. Joe launched right out of the gate as a crooked politician with a knack for telling lies on his way to becoming a Delaware senator, setting up an illustrious political career of swamp diving, flip-flopping, dishonesty, and treasonous capers. Just how crooked? Well, this crooked, actually.
Since it's clear that you're not corrupt and you got elected, why should people think that the system produces corrupt results when there you are?
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though. The system does produce corruption, and I think implicit in the system is corruption. Fortunate thing is I didn't have many larger contributors, and the only reason, see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it, but what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
Yeah, well, yes, the big guy has been crooked and lying for decades, pathological, plagiarizing. More than 30 years ago, a Biden run for president ended amid allegations over using material, a lot of it without attribution.
It cannot measure the health of our children.
The health of our children.
The quality of our education.
The quality of their education.
The joy of their play.
For the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Well, that's right, pathological, and I know it's hard to believe now, but he was actually pummeled for it by the media back then, something they were willing to do back then before the shameful cover for the man.
These clips are devastating. He looks like a Joe Biden wind-up doll with somebody else's words coming out.
If they're going to do things that are stupid as well as immoral, then they're probably too dumb to have the job of president.
Too bad it doesn't apply now. Wind-up doll, prophetic statement, wouldn't you say? Stupid, immoral, too dumb to have the job of president. Not my words, but also my words. But there you go. The pathological part of the equation has been there from the very start. And why did America forget all of that so quickly? Because they've known for several decades that Joe Biden, he's a pathological liar.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
That's amazing. Well, we cleared that up pretty quickly, didn't they?
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Oopsie daisy, but everyone forgot that pathological Joe. Well, that was pathological. Years later, on presidential campaign trails, round 2, Joe was back at it with the lies about Hunter in China.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China?
How you say cucumber. Well, when you lie and lie and lie again, the very core of that word pathological means that you do it so chronically, habitually, compulsively that you don't even know you're doing it anymore. But let's be honest, such is the world of politics. Little fabrication, stretches of truth, omissions, exaggerations, all part and parcel of the wonderful world of the swamp. But what happens is sometimes once you're in office, you're in. And the incessant lying, both big and small, should start to wind down. And I said should. But the big guy, oh no, he's lying. He's a lying wind-up doll. And whether the reason is the pathological part or the onset dementia, or he's just plain old racist, everything this president says is marked with a massive, glittery question mark. Why are we talking about this? Trains, infrastructure. Well, did you know Joey Boy is a train guy with millions of train miles under his belt? Perhaps one of the most mystifying spins, one that checks off both the pathological and perhaps senile columns. Listen.
If I can pause for a second, I apologize because some have heard this. I commuted every single day, 263 miles a day on Amtrak. We figured you traveled 119 days a year for 36 years, and then you traveled as vice president. He goes, so Joey, I don't want to hear this about the Air Force anymore. I'm a train guy.
Joey baby. It was all lies, though. Yes, that story was repeated in various forms at least 5 separate times. What a mangled web we weave when we choose to deceive. And did you know that Joe, well, he used to be a truck driver, driving 18-wheelers.
And anyway,
and if we
I
don't
used to drive an 18-wheeler, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could.
That's
I
awesome.
got to.
Yeah, okay, well, lie. Did you know Joe also used to be a college professor? What a busy guy, Joe. But did you know that when Joe was a lifeguard, one of 47 professions or so the big guy likes to brag about whenever convenient, in 1962, he had the most incredible run, a run-in with a gang leader in Delaware. Remember Corn Pop?
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up. He said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.
Quite the feast for the eyes and ears when the worlds of senile, racist, and pathological collide all in one soundbite like that, isn't it? And he got caught up and tangled up in the civil rights movement, right, Joe? Didn't you?
When I was 17 years old, like many of you, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate the restaurants and movie houses of Wilmington, Delaware. I come out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Yep. We've proven now that happened. None of it. All that stuff, pathological. Folks, and Joe, did you recall that you used to frequent a black church just in time for Black History Month? How convenient.
And let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic, but I used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Andy knows this.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever story suits the day or month, Joe's got it in the bag in his back pocket. Black History Month. You say, cue the black church. And he ain't joking. Oh, wait. You need some Jewish, or should I say Jewish?
I probably went to shul more than many of you did. You all think I'm kidding. I'm a practicing Catholic, but I'd go to services on Saturday and on Sunday. You all think I'm kidding. I'm not.
So wait a minute. I thought you went to black church after church, but now you went to shul. You went to Jewish religious services. Joe attended all the churches, white, black, and he also went to shul more than all the Jews combined. I tell you, I just don't know where this guy gets the energy or the clones of himself. Joe, you were raised in a Puerto Rican community, you told us, right? With all the Bogotas, Taco Jill? Or were you raised in a Polish community? For goodness sakes, Joe, which is it? Did you graduate top of your class with 3 degrees? How many degrees, Joe?
I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees.
No, so many degrees, so many lies, Mr. Pathological. Like that made-up story about your run-in with Nelson Mandela, right, Joe?
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. He walked in, and most incredible thing I've ever felt in my life. He walked across in that private room with the big table we have in the executive room, and he walked over. And I said, Mr. President, he leaned, I said, thank you.
Except that never happened either. Now, did it, Joe? There comes a point when the reason behind the statement just doesn't matter because each reason is bad enough. There's a saying by Mark Twain, if you tell the truth, You don't have to remember anything. Well, Joe, there's certainly no truth and therefore plenty of remembering, but your mind needs to be intact for the remembering part, and that, so far, looks like it's gone. So, senile, racist, pathological, racist, senile, whichever it is at any given time, I think the big guy has it pretty much all locked down, all three of them. Okay, up next, caption this: Joe Biden visits the people of Ukraine and Poland while Trump visits the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and brings them water and supplies.